Hello, 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 hello. This is Rhapzody, your friendly neighborhood growth hacker, coming to you today as the Reverend Dr. Rhapzody, which is also apropos, because today we're going to be talking about a wonderful memorial gathering that we had yesterday for my lovely, dearly departed wife of almost 25 years, Laurie Lynn Borth Barreiro. And it was great to see everybody. All the grandkids were there. Her sister-in-law was there. Unfortunately, my mother-in-law couldn't make it, and that's fine. I understand. It was just great to see everybody and to just commemorate the wonderfulness that was who I refer to affectionately as the wife. The interesting thing was, for me anyway, first off, the reason I'm wearing a duster in the kitchen is because it was a wedding anniversary present. She knew how much I loved this coat. I wore it to that early morning showing of the third installment of The Matrix when I lived in Oregon. And I think it's just cool. I mean, not something you would wear often here in Atlanta, in the metro Atlanta area. And now since I'm getting a little warm, I'll just go ahead and take it off. And I don't do editing, so this is just how it goes. And as I was about to say, Laurie, there were just so many cool things about her. One of which was she was Mensa. For those of you who don't know, or as the recently departed Rush Limbaugh would say, for those of you in Rio Linda, may his soul rest in peace. Mensa are the really, 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 really smart kids that go to honors classes, I don't know, from first grade, or maybe not that. Okay, that's extreme. But they're really smart, and they know how to apply their intelligence. Because as so many people like to say, knowledge is power, and that's a lie. Knowledge in action is power. Anyway, but even though she was Mensa, even though she was super smart, she was also a woman of God. And in so being, had no problem, compared to the modern day woman, had no problem assuming the position subordinate to the male. And one of the things that she did regularly, being like 10 times smarter than me, she would always set up scenarios where I get to end up on top. Where it might have even been her idea, but somehow, through her ability to communicate, she was able to share that somehow, some way, it was actually my idea, even though it might have even been her idea. And just like that, okay. The way this goes is, you support your man, and he will support you. In a perfect world, if you are right-minded and like-matched. Oh, man. Anyway, so like that, there was that. And I was going through Tony Robbins' priming this morning, just before the video, actually. And if you're not up on it, it's just an outstanding way to start the day. You get to put gratitude and visualization and prayer / meditation all wrapped up together in a 15-minute shot that sets you up for awesomeness for the rest of the day. Anyway, so going through that. Well, actually, going through that, I was for my gratitude, because it's always 3 points of gratitude. My gratitude points were regarding the kids and my oldest grandson, or I call him my OG, my original grandson. The first one was me and my little girl, Corinne, before she was a year old, before we were even married, but we had begun to have a friendship. I lived on the beach in Myrtle Beach, down the street from the restaurant where she worked, where actually we both worked, and that's where I met her. It was the second job that I got while I was down on the beach working on the radio. And sometimes, for whatever reason, her babysitter wasn't able to come through for her to watch Corinne before she went to work. So she would just ask me to watch Corinne while she was at work. And I'm like, sure, no big deal. I mean, A, you're right down the street. B, she's just, little. You give me the bag with the stuff and I do what I got to do and it's fine. And one morning, I just had the idea. Wouldn't it be cool? I mean, like, if I had a little girl of my very own, a cool thing to do would be to watch the sunrise on the beach. So one day, I decided to get her in her, not car seat, but whatever, I guess car seat. Whatever she was, it was like a bassinet type, not a bassinet. Anyway, the thing she was sitting in at the time. And we go downstairs. I take a left. We walk 10 steps, and we're on the beach. And I just park her in front of me, and I'm sitting behind her, and we're just sitting there facing the sun, watching the sunrise. I just thought it was super cool. Yeah. And my second point of gratitude was with my oldest daughter, Desiree. I remember one day we were just at the house when we lived in Myrtle Beach, and just randomly, I'm sitting in a chair, sitting comfortably, and she just randomly just leapt into my lap. And I just thought that was super cool. Because to me, that's like, I would say it's like a trust fall, but it's better than a trust fall. Because, as I was always constantly telling people, I showed up and I understood that it was a package deal. And I always say to people that, I married a lady with 2 kids and we claim each other. And I remember when I made the commitment, decided to make the commitment to go forward with the relationship, I always thought to myself that I never wanted to use the word step. And I never did. And they never did. And I was like, sweet. So for me, that was just further confirmation of my acceptance, even though by that time we had already been married. But yeah. And the third point of gratitude, my oldest son Ace, he was like 2 at the time, and we took him to his first parade. At said parade, he was just, he was on my shoulders. I put him on my shoulders so he could see things. And he saw people coming by, the clown car and the Shriners, and they're doing their thing. And he's like, whatever. And then the fire engine came by. And just before the fire engine came in front of us, they honked their horn or blew their siren, whatever it was, and he lost it. He was just up on my shoulders like he just saw the winning knockdown in the fight, going, yeah! I'm imagining he's doing this because I can't see him because, he's on my shoulders. And to myself, looking around to other people, I'm like, yeah, grandpa moment. There you go. And, you ever sometimes think about decisions that you made that would have literally changed the course of your life? Just like the decision I made to move to Myrtle Beach in the first place, because I had an opportunity to work at the rock station there, because of a divinely inspired interconnection with a former employee of the gentleman who was the station manager, who I met while I was in Wilmington, North Carolina. And that's an interesting story. She talked to me about that, and I was like, okay, sure, if I'm ever down that way, I'll hit him up. And then it came to me that I had a friend who was going to Myrtle Beach for their wedding. So I was going down for the wedding. So I figured, hey, I'm going to be down there for the wedding. I'll swing in, talk to this guy. We'll chop it up and see how it goes. So I go in, talk to the guy, and he tells me that I got the gig for a part-time weekend spot. And I'm like tickled to death because I hadn't worked at a rock station like ever. I started out in country, so I worked at a country station. And that was fine because I grew up in a world where, up in New York, 77 WABC wasn't always a talk station. It was a station that played everything. So, wasn't a whole lot of R&B, a little bit of R&B, but they played country, they played rock, they played adult contemporary, they just played everything. So I was just used to that. Anyway, so I get down there and figured that, since this job is only for the weekend, I'm going to need something for the week to be able to sustain myself. And the other sure sign that God's hand was in it, I showed up, got a spot on the beach, and a job at a restaurant on the beach in November. That doesn't happen. There's in season and out of season. We were out of season. And normally, when out of season, people are just kicking back on unemployment because that's all they can do until they get back in season. And that's how that went. So the other thing that made it all the more awesome to me, after a month and a half of working part-time for the weekend, I was full-time salaried. And there were people there that had been there 4 and 5 years, still doing grunt work, still making $5 an hour. The only money they got to make was when they did remote broadcasts. And of course, they were all up in arms, so they were like, okay, fine, we'll make you salary too. Sure, why not? And that's how that went down. And it's just interesting how, so many things that one of the main things about Laurie that it's like she started a tidal wave of people that appreciated me. I'll use the word appreciated for this video. Sure, I can use the regular word. She worshiped me, basically. And what I was talking about before, being supportive, I called it, we were chapter presidents of the Mutual Admiration Society. She was always lifting me up, and I was always lifting her up. And I like to tell people, if you're in a relationship or you're wanting to be in a long-term relationship or a marriage that really works long-term, first thing you need is patience. The second thing you need is an open line of communication. But the third thing that comes in handy that will keep you going long-term is mutual admiration. Always be looking for things that they've done right, instead of always looking for things they've done wrong and squishing them like a little bug and making them feel like fecal matter. Because that doesn't help anybody. Sure, it's going to make you feel good and giggly at the moment. But long term, he's not going to feel good about it. And when we're not feeling good about it, over a long enough time, we will literally find somebody else who's going to help us feel good about it. Because we deserve the appreciation. We feel we deserve the appreciation. Now, if you're some slug who's just sitting around not doing anything and sucking off the teat, if you will, of someone who's doing better, then that's not good. That's, for a relationship, that's not cool. Anyway, Laurie, in her awesomeness. Oh yeah, it reminds me of, it used to tickle me to death. On the regular, Desiree was like between 11 and 12, 13. And on the regular, Desiree would show up the night before and say, Mom, I've got this project and it's due tomorrow. Laurie, of course, would get upset initially and then go about the business of helping her with the project. Usually she wound up doing the project because, she doesn't want her kid to look bad. And that's just the kind of person she was. She was a giver. And the world is just a little bit dimmer in her absence. And it's just our job to re-brighten the little corner of the world we live in, or as that early church song used to go, brighten the corner where you are.